What up, everybody? In the midst of everything going on with Big Meech over the last few weeks since he took a picture with Rick Ross, 50 Cent announced yesterday that he's working on an American Gangster reboot with the network A&E. So 50 Cent has a lot going on right now and a whole lot of shows that are currently in development. He first announced the American Gangster reboot on an IG Live a few months ago, but now he's officially posted on his Instagram page. And in that interview, he also said that he has a total of 34 shows in development across 10 different networks because right now they're not even telling him no. Out of the 34 shows, the shows that I know of is the 4 Power shows plus Origins that's guaranteed in development. And I also believe there's at least 2 more Power series in development. Then BMF and potentially more BMF spin-offs in development like I've talked about in other videos. He's hinted at both Lamar and J-Bo getting their own spinoff, and now it looks like he's working with Cuffy, so that could be a potential move that's also in the works. He has the TikTok Murderers series that aired, and he also has a series in development based off his book called The Accomplice, and that series will be starring Taraji P. Henson. In addition to that, he also has the 50 Cent Action Network, and he said there will be originals coming to that network soon. As far as the American Gangster reboot, he said it would be similar to the original series, but with a new spin to it because it's him behind it now. I think it'll be a lot like the BMF Blowing Money Fast documentary that aired on Stars. 50 said he wants the American Gangster series to show more than just the violent side of being a gangster, that what today's generation thinks of when they hear the word gangster, and also show the side of leadership and handle the work on the streets like a business. Basically saying those top level gangsters, those real shot callers, can just wipe their finger underneath their nose and they have people who handle the violent part for them. The original series aired from 2006 to 2009 and it consisted of 3 seasons and 26 episodes. And the series was narrated by Ving Rhames. So the new American Gangster series could possibly be narrated by 50 himself, because he does a great job at narrating Raising Kanan as OG Kanan. Again, this is a reboot and not a relaunch. The key difference being that a reboot doesn't have continuity like storyline and characters like a relaunch does. But that doesn't play too much of a factor when it comes to a docu-series. But that does indicate that some of the people featured on the original series will be featured in the new series with the 50 Cent spin to it. A quick rundown of people featured on the original series consists of Season 1, Episode 1 featured Stanley Tookie Williams, founder of the Crips, who was later convicted in the murders of 4 people. Episode 2 featured Freeway Ricky Ross, aka the real Rick Ross, the former drug lord based out of LA, who got sentenced to life in prison before that was later shortened on an appeal. The TV series Snowfall was loosely based on the life of Freeway Ricky Ross, either though from what I've been told, he was not compensated for that. Episode 3 featured Leroy Nicky Barnes, Harlem heroin kingpin, and the founder of the Council. Nicky Barnes has been portrayed in movies like American Gangster, the movie that featured the life of Frank Lucas, when he was portrayed by Cuba Gooding Jr. Episode 4 featured the Smith brothers, Troy and Dino Smith, who stole millions of dollars of merchandise from a San Francisco jewelry store. Season 1, Episode 5 featured the Chambers brothers, 4 brothers from Arkansas who moved to Detroit and launched a highly successful crack enterprise. Either though the end of New Jack City says it was based off nobody in particular, it's been said that this movie was actually based off the Chamber brothers' drug empire. Episode 6, the Season 1 finale, featured Fat Cat Nichols from Queens, the same area as 50 Cent, and was also around back in 50 Cent's day. And it says that Fat Cat Nichols was brought to justice following the fatal shooting of a police officer. Season 2, Episode 1 featured the Philly Black Mafia. Black ink became a code for Murder Inc. on the streets of Philadelphia in the 1970s. American Gangster explores the mentality, ruthless position, and deranged violence that was associated with the infamous Philly Black Mafia. Episode 2 of Season 2 featured Larry Hoover of the Gangster Disciples, GDs, and he reigned as the leader in the 1970s and has been incarcerated for over 30 years. Season 2, Episode 3 featured Melvin Williams from Baltimore, who ran the gambling and heroin market with the help of mob leader Lord Salisbury. Episode 5 featured Frank Lucas, and just about everybody knows who Frank Lucas is. The movie American Gangster, starring Denzel Washington, was about the life of Frank Lucas. It says, from notorious driver and muscle man to Harlem's most powerful gangster, Frank Lucas ran the game with ruthless determination. Season 2, Episode 6 featured Felix the Cat Mitchell out of Oakland, who ran a well-organized and ruthless drug trafficking empire. It says if you went against his rules, you were dealt with. Season 2, Episode 7 featured Jeff Fort and the Blackstone Rangers from Chicago. It said the streets held him a hero, but law enforcement held him as a gangster and a terrorist. Episode 8 featured Chaz Williams. This was 50 Cent's former manager who robbed over 80 banks. I've been told that Snaps from Raising Kanan is loosely based off Chaz Williams. Season 2, Episode 9 featured Rayful Edmond III out of Washington, D.C., said to be D.C.'s most notorious drug kingpin in the 1980s, and as his business grew, so did the violence and murders, and he was eventually convicted of 2 life sentences without parole. And the Season 2 finale featured Kenneth Supreme McGriff from Queens, who ran the Supreme team and was allegedly behind 50 Cent getting shot 9 times. The Season 3 premiere featured Larry Davis, later known as Adam Abdul Hakim from the Bronx, who got into a shootout with over 20 cops at his sister's apartment and was able to escape. Season 3, Episode 2 featured Monster Cody, aka Sanyika Shakur, who is from Los Angeles and a member of the 8 Trey Gangster Crips. It says he's known for his gang violence and his best-selling autobiography. Episode 3 featured Midget Molly, a former Atlantic City drug lord who changed his ways once he went to prison and now works to advocate for incarcerated Muslims. Episode 4 featured Cornell Jones, a former kingpin from Washington, D.C., who was successful at staying out of the reach of law enforcement. Episode 5 featured J. Edgar Hoover out of Washington, D.C., who was the first director of the FBI and was instrumental in the founding of the FBI in 1935. This sounds like the only episode that I would skip. The next episode is definitely an episode I'm interested in, and that is Guy Fisher, who was the first black owner of the Apollo Theater in Harlem, who was a ladies' man, sports fan, bon vivant, and drug lord who became the youngest and most flamboyant member of the council. Season 3, Episode 7 featured Willie Lloyd, who was a former gangster in the 1960s and 70s, who became an anti-gang activist, but was shot in 2003 and left paralyzed from the neck down. Episode 8 featured the Jamaican Shower Posse, a gang from Kingston, Jamaica, who rose to power in the States in the 1980s, and their operations stretched from Miami to New York. Season 3, Episode 9 featured the Roper Gang from the Bay Area. They were bank robbers who later became hip-hop artists. And the final episode of American Gangster's original series featured Mutulu Shakur, the stepfather of Tupac Shakur, who was found guilty for the 1981 robbery of a Brinks armored truck. So there you have it. That was the list of who had been on the show in the past before the 50 Cent reboot. Let me know who's been on the show that you would like to see in the 50 Cent reboot, or someone who hadn't been on the show before that you would like to see their story on the reboot. The first person that comes to mind for me is Bumpy Johnson. The show Godfather of Harlem is about the life of Bumpy Johnson, and it's a really good show, kind of like a combination between Power and BMF, so make sure to check it out if you haven't yet. I would also like to see AZ Faison, Richie Porter, and Alpo Martinez featured on the new American Gangster series. These 3 is who the movie Paid in Full was based off of. And another gang I would like to see featured on the reboot is the Miami Boys, shown on Season 3 of BMF as the Miami Killers. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.